On my channel, you'll find a lot of videos teaching sports betting techniques, but I also practice what I preach. I've had ups and downs, and those of you who've followed my live streams have seen some of those ups and downs. But May, I was up like I never expected. Learn how I turned $10 bets to over $34,000 in profit in May alone, betting baseball, of all things. Welcome to The Advantage. I'm A-Train Bets, and I use my brain to make bets. In this video, we're going to talk about what happened in May and how I took testing my baseball model and ran it up to $34,000 in profit in 1 month, which is way more than I'd ever made sports betting myself. You know, my background with data and building systems, my career has been about building systems for data scientists to use and then operationalize what they do for businesses to get better using data. And in sports betting, I've kind of taken the same approach where I help people understand how to use the data, do analytics, and then go do the betting. And a lot of my focus is on building those tools for bettors to do their thing, which is exactly what I've been doing in my career for data scientists forever. And in this case, the bettors are the data scientists. And while I'm more focused on that, that's been always the weird thing with me. I've always liked that part of the journey better. But in sports betting, nobody's going to pay attention to you if you don't win, right? If you're not betting yourself and you're not doing well yourself, that's something that is kind of table stakes. You have to do it. And so I've started to do it. I've been a sports bettor, profitable for the last 2 calendar years, 5-figure profit, nothing crazy, but that's because I don't have the risk tolerance. I've bet everything in my life for a software company to help sports bettors. I don't have a lot of other capital to invest in. Betting all day long is not what I need to do if I'm building tools all day long, right? So understand that I consider myself a hobbyist sports bettor, pretty advanced one, but a hobbyist sports bettor first and foremost, but also recognizing that I have a responsibility to put my tools into use. Okay, so that is part of what drove what ended up happening in May. The other thing that really led to this May being what it was is that I had a realization, and part of this came from just learning more about sports gambling, never turning off that switch. If anybody ever acts like they have all the answers and they know everything, they don't, and they won't even more, because they are going to, whatever they learn is going to fall away as the world around them changes. So if they come at it acting like they have all the answers, that is not a person you want to trust. We are all students. We are all on a journey. Okay. And so I am constantly trying to learn. I'm constantly trying to figure out, what do the best bettors in the world do? Who else am I going to want to emulate? Right. And what occurred to me was that they build models. They build bottom-up analysis. They try to understand their own perspective of truth, so that they can then act in the market and the books react to them, right? That's who I should be. I should use data to go and create this stuff. And that's exactly what I did. So I decided, you know what? Baseball's always been my favorite sport. Betting baseball sucks. I've built systems like this for other people half a dozen times in my career from end to end. And it usually takes companies a year, 2 years to execute on something like that at the scale that we're talking about with baseball data, the kind of analytics you would need to drive advantage in baseball betting. And so I said to myself, well, I know how to build these systems. I've never built one for me. That'd be kind of fun. And I also know I can move pretty fast because I don't have to have meetings. I just have this one part of the brain, talk to this other part of the brain, and then we just go do our stuff, right? I code it all out, and I'm pretty good at that part. I don't do front-end development for anything. That's why I have a business partner who does that. But the back-end stuff, the data stuff, the analytics stuff, I'm like, that's my home. I haven't got to do that in a while. So I started these wheels. We're turning in March, and I'm like, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. I can come up with a way to churn all that information in ways that maybe most people who are limited to like Excel or some other different kinds of technologies may not be able to do. Again, this is the source of edge. I've got other videos about driving edges and how you do that. But for me in this journey, it was about understanding, what are my strengths? What can I personally do? And building data systems is a thing I do. So might as well put that to use. So I did. I started building up a massive data architecture and Postgres. I upgraded my Mac laptop at part of this journey, but it's all running locally and it's doing stuff, bringing in data from all around the internets and whatnot. And the secret sauce behind it, I mean, I'm not going to share that. That's because the people out there who really want you to buy their picks aren't good enough. Their picks aren't good enough for them to use and capitalize on. My model's doing great. I'm going to keep doing that, right? I've had some ups and downs with the model too once I got into June, but it was more how I adapted my betting style with it. But the fact is that the model has edge. Why in the world would I want to sell that for pennies on the dollar when I just go bet it? Right. And so like that's what ended up leading me to May, where I started to go rocketing up the ladder when it came to the wins. And so I want to talk a little bit about what it took to do that. Right. And so the first thing is that I understood some technology capabilities that I have that are unique that can lead to edge, but that wasn't enough. Right? Because I need to understand where might I be able to find an edge to the market. Now, the good part is the market's lazy. It's full of lazy people, full of casual bettors who are pumping dollars into all the places. And you've got even a lot of sharp bettors who may not be able to do some of the things I could do, but they are moving the markets. What do the sharp sports books do? They react to the sharp bettors, right? Everybody's reacting. I'm like, if I can just create a model that gives me a sense of truth, my hypothesis is that markets are going to overreact. Watch the stock market every day. The markets overreact. And my model can be thoughtful, right? And I can say, okay, maybe I can look at some other things that are happening day to day, but what do bettors in football do? Let's use that as an example, right? They create their power rankings and then they adjust for situational factors. You can listen to all the talking heads. They'll talk about, okay, I have them ranked at 6 points better than blah. And then because of this and this injury, they're going to be only 4 points, blah, 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 blah. And that's how they do it, right? Not very methodical, but there is at least a process to that. So I said, okay, well, let's take that knowledge, right? Let's use that and leverage that as inspiration to do what I need to do in building this. So I'm like, let's create something that creates a raw prediction of what's likely to happen in a game. And then let's overlay that with factors that are unique to that game, right? So we can say, okay, what are season projections? What are people likely to do? Where can I find projections about baseball? There's a lot of places I can find projections about baseball, right? So if I take those projections on annual performance and I can whittle that down into game level performance, and then I can say, okay, what do I put on top of that to adjust for the particulars of the game? And then we're talking everything from matchups and pitchers and lineups to weather information to schedule to travel to anything you can think of that might impact the outcome of a baseball game in a predictive way. That's what I'm doing. Right. So that's what I did and put it all into my mind. I'm not going to go into all the technical details of how I did that. But if you want to go out and create something that could give you unique edge, the first part of that is understanding what might do that and then go build it and then see where that gets you. Now, the problem is that that's only just predicting what's likely to happen. That's step one. Step two is what I did with A-Train Station, which is the software that we've been building for the last couple of years that provides a level of flexibility and customizability that no one else has. Because what I can do then with the functionality that's in A-Train Station is I can upload the output of my model, which tries to predict truth, or any model I can bring in. If I could go buy a model, and that's exactly what I might do for football season. I'm not going to go build my own model for football. It doesn't suit what I do well best. So I'm looking for models that I might buy, right, to then plug in or adapt, bring in a couple and do some wrangling. But the fact is that you've got to understand, like, you can't be an expert in everything. That's like the opposite of being an expert, right? So you got to pick your spots. And so for me, it was about saying, okay, well, I can do this projection. I know how to do that. And does it at scale, creates 13,000 lines per day. Right. And then I plug it into A-Train Station. So we have a custom lines upload that allows me to bring in to A-Train Station all of my projections and then look and see what the market will give me. Right. So I'm predicting both sides. I'm predicting where is that no vig line. Normally when we do top down analysis, we're devigging books to be able to do the understand what the books think truth is, what's likely on either side, but it's a random estimate. I don't have to do that part. I don't have to devig anything. I'm coming up with a different methodology to get at truth. So I could combine that with top-down analysis. I can do a whole bunch of different things. But what I found is that what led to my success in May is I just used it straight up raw because it was better than the market on the lines I chose to do. No player props, because the other thing I wanted to do was I don't want to deal with player 2 accounts. I don't want to deal with getting limited all over the place. I want to beat the sharp books at their own game. Jeff Benson, I'm coming for you, at Circa. But I mean, I want to take to the game to the people trying to do it the right way. So I'm playing at Circa. I'm playing at the places that will take bets. Right. And so that's the kind of thing that I think is paramount to understand, what do you think the edge might be? What do you think you can do to capitalize on it? And what's important to you? What do you want to bet? I like to bet a lot of bets in a day at relatively low per bet prices because I want to get past some of the volatility. If I have true edge, that's going to help me. If I don't have edge, it's going to hurt me. Right. And so that's the thing that we have to understand is you have to look and come up with a business plan. Come up with a business plan of what you want to do. OK, so that's what I did. Plug the results of my model into A-Train Station, and that led to me understanding in the market, what is the market going to give me? And there were certain patterns that we could see. And I'm betting a lot of totals. I'm betting a lot of some spreads, some money lines, but a lot of totals, team totals, first 5 innings totals. Those are a lot of the particular markets I'm interested in. And I know I can get liquidity in. I mean, a lot of these places will take $10,000 a bet on totals. And a lot, we know baseball's horribly unpredictable day in and day out. But if you have consistent edge, you are going to win more than you lose, right? And so like the whole thing is that it's going to even out any given game. Who knows? But that also fits my style. I want to put in a lot of bets and I want to overcome some of that variance, right? So let's look at how May actually went, because I can tell you the story here. I've talked a little bit about it in other videos or whatever too, but I want to show you how this all went down, because in the beginning parts of the month, I was starting to work with the models, testing things out. It was pretty raw. It was like, nobody should be doing, I was doing live streams every day. I was like, live stream, nobody should bet this. Understand, nobody should do this, but I'm gonna do this, right? And so I was doing it, and I was getting so much grief. Oh my God, I was getting so much grief from people about how your model's never gonna work, you're never gonna work. Then I broke the thing entirely. I couldn't even bet this day. I'm like, fine. So I came back, but it had leveled up, and it's leveled up like 7 or 8 more times since then. But the first main leveling up was this day when I won $1 on 20 bets, right? And I'm very selective. I was betting them, this is what average bet size, $20 a bet. By the time I got here, I was ready to actually put a little bit into it. And I would scale these bets a little bit at that point. And then I started to go down. It was continue every day. I mean, and don't underestimate how hard it is to build a model. Like I was up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday doing this for 12 hours on weekends, like trying to find every scratch of time I could to build the model so that I could have something to show the community of what I could do and show and hopefully make some money, because the software business in the summertime in sports betting, hate to tell you, not very good under the best circumstances, right? So understand, like I've bet my entire career on this. I've bet my entire life savings on this. And I'm going to start with $20 bets in the market, right? So that's what I did. And so I started out, well, it was actually $10 bets earlier. And then by here, I'm getting to $20 bets and I'm scaling. So every time I had a good day, I would scale up $10, right? I would scale up $10 on the average bet size. And so I would you can see the growth here, growing 1900, 3510. That's what's happening here, is that I'm growing the bet size because I'm trying to get to a point where I'm making real money, and it's going better and better. Look at this. Look how it grows. 166, 353, 319, 492, 954. Just go. And this day, variance hit me a little bit, but I lost $50. Like this is not so bad, right? Starting to get accustomed to this at this point, right? Like keep growing it. So you see 7,600, 9,100, 11,000, growing. So we drop down to this page, right? So we've got 10,000. This is my first time I'd ever bet. Well, I guess here was the first time I bet over $10,000 in a day doing this model. And it grows. And then I hit 20,000 at one point, right? By the time I get to the end of the month, I've hit 20,000. But I had a day where I won $8,200, crazy amount of return in that day. But this is what happens when I was able to kind of go in and find ways to bet the model conservatively. And I can tell you what happens in June. When I started doing this in June, I ended up getting a little bit too aggressive, and that burned me, because at the fringes, you got to get lucky. Even though there's edge in that, you got to get lucky. If you've done top-down betting, you're betting too many underdogs that are plus 300, plus 400, you're going to know, right? It just will go against you. Now, you have some crazy good days, but quite honestly, I was getting greedy in June. And so then, adjusted, but then came back. But understand, there's variance in this, but this is a hell of a run, right? And so like to be up at the end of this month at 34,000 when, I'm $20 a bet on the 8th. And to have this run was awesome. This is not going to be normal, right? This is not going to be the thing It's going to happen most of the time. But it clearly showed that there was something to this methodology, because you understand, like in the financial markets, stocks, they are probably the best way to gauge overall productivity over time, and they tend to be right over time. But day in and day out, crazy swings. We'll get 3-4% swings in the stock market. And so that's the kind of thing that you have to understand, is that there's going to be ups and downs. But when you can come at it in a unique way, and my model, I ain't selling it. I'm not giving picks. I'm not even showing you what I bet last month, right? Because it's so precious that it'd be stupid for me to do that. You should do that. You should come up with that. You should find, hey, what am I good at? Well, how do I like to do things? What do I want to do in my sports betting? How can I beat these books who are lazy? Lazy. They're making billions of dollars and they're lazy about it. They are giving so many openings to how we can go in and actually do well. And you don't have to bet $1 million. You can bet $10 at a time, but with an edge. As you learn from it, not only are you building some incredible skills that are applicable in a whole lot more than just sports betting, but you can grow into it and earn it. If you love the idea of being a professional sports bettor, which I do not like the idea of being a professional sports bettor, but if you did, how do you get there? You got to practice. You got to grow. So that's what we do with A-Train Station. I mean, that's the thing. I'm going to show you one other thing before we go. Is that I want to show you the custom line upload page is just a page on A-Train Stations. In the weightings, you go into the custom line upload and you can select here this choose file, and you can pick a file, or you can copy in to this text box here, and then it'll bring in the lines, and then you can use it in your betting. And so then it comes in and brings in our top-down analysis. You can do additional things because you can rate books however you want. You can do different strategies. You can look at all this stuff that nobody has. And is it easy? No. The advanced features at A-Train Station are complicated to use because they're the most powerful things that exist. So if you want and are serious about taking this to another level and actually treating sports gambling as a game itself and learning how to play it for real, not just following the herd. What's crazy to me is that everybody thinks they're going to have like this lasting edge, live arbitrage, and you're trying to click faster with 10,000 other people in the same game. That's a silly game. Only one person can run fastest in that, right? And so like that's a game that why play that one when you have 10,000 competitors, right? Play something else. Find a unique game to you that you like, and that's what A-Train Station allows you to do. So I wanted to show you one other thing. Is that we have a file here this is shared. You can get to it on your A-Train Station on that custom line upload page. Actually, there's a link right here. But the spreadsheet here is just Google Sheet, and it just gives you the format. And if you're not comfortable with the format, we're developing tools where you can just enter in those things. And what's kind of cool about this, in addition to just being a relatively straightforward way to load up a bunch of unique lines, no other software allows you to bring in your own source of truth like this. Not this way, not this customizable, right? You can come in and we have an example. You can do this. And what's cool is that there's once you learn how this works, you can use variables. Like you can basically have open-ended things where anytime this game, right? Anytime Atlanta is at home and the win percentage is better than this, it's going to start to pop, right? And so you're going to start to see a better line anytime they're at home and they are favored by less than a certain amount, right? And so like that is what the power is. You can start to do. Then you do this for player props. You can do this for different sports. And if you have a methodology and you just want to know, hey, what plays do I want to make based on where the prices are in the market, based on what I think is going to be true, that's what you got to do, right? Like no other tool. What do you do? Look at an odds screen to try to figure it all out manually? This is 2025. Give me a break. Right? That's what you got to think about is how do we do this in a way that with all the technology available out there, we can, still have an edge. People are plugging stuff into AI, like AI is good at making decisions, creates pictures with 6 fingers. You think it's a great betting tool. It might get some high level bottom feeder stuff, but anybody can do it. That edge is gone. It's already gone, right? It's just a matter of time. So if you can think a little bit deeper, you can think a little bit more specifically, more precisely, you are going to have an opportunity to create advantage like nothing else. That's what we do with A-Train Station. That's what we all do as students. Like we can't make this super easy. We can make some basic strategies easy for you to start to understand and build those skills, but you have to understand here that it's not about picks. It's about how you find the picks. It's about how you make the picks. It's about how you do something different than all the other people out there. And if you're following a tool, following a tout, and they're giving it to a bunch of people, you don't have edge. You have a drawer full of dull knives. That's all you've got. So think about how you can do something like this yourself. Can't always guarantee the results, but you can definitely guarantee you're going to learn some things. You're going to have much more fun in your sports gambling, and you're going to have better success. Not to mention, you're going to be able to build some skills that will be applicable in other places as well. So hopefully understanding a little bit about my personal journey in May might give you a little bit of insight into where you might be able to take sports gambling yourself. Whatever you do, understand that this stuff is real and that the numbers matter. And if you're just betting your hunches and you don't really understand the massive difference between minus 105 and minus 130, you really need to learn, or otherwise you're just throwing money away. And there's better things to spend your money on. Right? So if you're going to take this hobby seriously, if you want to be a sports gambler, this is the responsibility you have in doing so. And if you want to find edge, you want to find lasting edge, A-Train Station is the best game in town for that. So with that, thank you for joining me on this video. Hopefully you found it useful. Look forward to some of the comments. And for now, this train's leaving the station. So until next time, save the units for the bros and do your betting like the pros with A-Train Station. We'll see you soon. Thanks.